Okay, so this is imposter attorney Allison Satterley and imposter attorney Virginia Sudbury. And about 7 years ago, in October of 2017, they told a bunch of lies about me to this judge, Robert Faust. Them doing this is known as the silver bullet tactic, litigation abuse, also reptilian law theory. Now, Judge Faust seemed like he did his best to play along with them, but in the end, I eventually settled on a joint custody agreement for my youngest daughter. That's part of what makes me question if Judge Faust really knows how dark some of these imposters are and the dark things they're doing, especially because he is the son of James E. Faust, also a former attorney, and who in the Mormon religion was one of the 12 apostles. And that seems like a pretty big family legacy to me for him to risk over being part of this dark, dark corruption. As time went on, I was eventually taken advantage of by 4 different attorneys. The first was imposter attorney Spencer Ricks, and then there was Patricia LaTulipe, and then Richard Plen, and then this guy, Aaron Garrett. And ironically, it was Aaron Garrett who then colluded with Nate Wall from this law firm, Wall and Wall, who created the forgery involving my older daughter, who was 12 at the time. That was about 2 years ago, and basically Nate Wall forged my name on a relocation paper that trafficked my daughter from Utah to North Carolina with her mom and stepdad. And it is okay to call it trafficked because an illegal act occurred involving a child and money exchanged hands, and they committed a third-degree felony in the process, in addition to the forgery and extortion Garrett and Wall committed. It seemed this is something that Wall does, is he takes bribes or money from parents to forge documents, and that is all probably part of this other scheme that these judges do, where they're trafficking this paperwork into these forged adoption schemes. So I reported it to the Utah State Bar. This is the director of Utah State Bar, as well as the DCFS, Division of Child and Family Services, that's the director there, as well as the Department of Health Services. And then I filed an appeal that went to Commissioner Manasse and Judge Pettit, but they covered up the forgery too. So then I filed the appeal, and it went to all the judiciaries, all the conduct commissions, all these people or whatever, and they didn't do anything. Even the Chief Justice Matthew Durrant ignored it. I went to the Attorney General Sean Reyes and even Governor Spencer Cox, and nothing. I even went to the FBI, that's the director of the Salt Lake FBI there, same thing, wouldn't even take a complaint or a walk-in. I even reported it to the police chief, Justin Hoyle, the next chief, Wayne Dial, the sheriff chief, Rosie Rivera, and even District Attorney Sim Gill, and they all covered up the forgery and said it wasn't a forgery. I didn't realize then, but I know now that the reason they said that is because the judge had probably already secretly forged documents, completely adopting my daughter away from me without me knowing, but all these other people did, and so that's why they said, oh no, MJ, it's not a forgery, but they wouldn't really tell me why. So then Commissioner Manasse became very desperate to cover his tracks with Virginia Sudbury and Allison Satterley, and so they started doing what these AFCC members do. They got the corrupt private guardian ad litem, Allison LeBray, pictured here, to get another corrupt guardian ad litem, Amy Mitchell, and then they got this corrupt psychologist, Kyle Hancock, to do the dark mechanism where they try to claim that a parent is crazy or whatever, and Kyle has been caught committing extortion in this process, and Intermountain Healthcare and Select Health are doing an investigation into that. Here's 3 of the leaders, CEOs, presidents, whatever, of Intermountain Healthcare and Select Health. So we'll see how they respond to this child trafficking, if it's something they're going to look the other way at or get involved in conquering this corruption too. But then one of the most counterintuitive, bizarre, obvious things Commissioner Russell Manasse started doing was that he would make up these insanely just fake orders and ignore things and just all parts of what this dark network does. But then when I would object to it, instead of the objections coming from Judge Faust or going to Judge Faust like they should have, they started responses started coming from either Allison LeBray Or this person, Judge Elizabeth Knight, who seems to be an unhinged, deranged judge doing all sorts of horrific things involving stealing children from separated parents and selling them into these adoption schemes. And what's weird is even though she's a judge, it seems like she will pose as Judge Faust's clerk and think that people don't know. And that's one way how she'll perpetuate this darkness with Russell Manasse, Amy Mitchell, Allison LeBray, Kyle Hancock, Allison Satterley, Virginia Sudbury, and on and on and on. It doesn't help that there's also a very corrupt collection agency called Knight Adjustment Bureau, Knight, spelled the same way as Judge Elizabeth Knight, Knight. And a really scary thing is when Elizabeth Knight is really trying to kill someone off, she'll start circulating rumors that there's guns involved or that the person has a gun and is being irresponsible. And it seems she does that to try and provoke radicalized law enforcement officers into getting triggered and going over in a provoked assassination attempt, disguised as an arrest, and that they accidentally end up putting a bullet in someone's head. And that would be along the lines of what the AFCC network does. And because her signatures, or she's intercepting these documents that should be going to Judge Faust or coming from Judge Faust, makes me think that Judge Faust really doesn't know the true darkness of these judges stealing children from separated parents and selling them into these adoption schemes for that title, for e-kickback, and just all the other dark ways they do things. That includes it does seem there's some sort of bonds being created, maybe as part of some sort of pension fund out of these legal cases, and that's why they create so many false legal cases, but that's another story for another day. This is Carolyn Charette, the owner of the Utah franchises of American Preparatory Academy, makes millions of dollars off these schools. My daughter was having breakdowns because she hasn't seen me for 5 months. I asked Carolyn Charette to get involved. She said it's their policy to not get involved. I recommend everyone start boycotting all American Preparatory Academies from coast to coast until solutions are announced by me publicly. This is Emma Barcenas, who was bribed or blackmailed. She was an intern posing as a therapist who had a lot of opportunities to get involved and help my 7-year-old out of these dark schemes, but didn't. That includes her and Reach Counseling sending a false complaint about me that Commissioner Manasse then used in all sorts of dark ways. Another player is the Utah Parent Center, who, like United Way 211 in Utah, may not be what they claim to be. A part of this is because Utah Parent Center's accountants are also very controversial owners of what seems to be a collection scam disguised as a legitimate education company where they target vulnerable people and exploit them out of thousands of dollars. It also doesn't help that there are judges silently on the board of directors at Utah Parent Center. So that shows how these schemes of stealing children from separated parents and trafficking them into these adoption schemes is something else. That's Trina Higgins. That was Dean Elizabeth Cronk Warner. Here's Judge Therese, who does very dark things with West Valley City. Another monster, Michelle Bloomquist, who also does the same schemes that Judge Knight does. This is Matthew Larry Wilkins, who may have been tricked into these schemes as well, who my daughter may be with him. I've been told that I'm no longer my daughter's father and that he basically is her father now. So if you see her with him, approach them nicely, because he seems like he could have been tricked, blackmailed, or bribed into these schemes too. This is West Valley Police Chief Colleen Jacobs, who for her own reasons enables these dark schemes, and even though she's had many opportunities to fix it, West Valley does very dirty things with private attorneys being contracted to be public defenders and prosecutors. Here's some pictures of my daughter Naima. Contact Chief Justice Matthew Durrant's office about this. She is being trafficked away from me. I don't know where in the world she is. I don't know where they are planning on taking her, and she needs to be brought home to me. These people need to be held accountable.